Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're learning our beautiful series on the Shir HaShirim, and we learned last week the psukim that talk about the journey of the Jewish people through the desert, out of Mitzrayim, and the pasuk says, "Ma navu lechayayich batorim." How beautiful are your cheeks with torim, which is some kind of jewelry piece that is put on the head, from usually mainly on the forehead. And then it says, "Tzavarech," your neck, bacharuzim, with a speckled necklace. Then it says, "Nekudot takesef, torei zahav naselach." We will upgrade you to gold tor headpieces. Im nekudot takesef, with points or dots of silver. Nekuda is a small dot, so it's going to be speckled silver on the necklace. So what is this referring to in the nimshal? So obviously in the mashal, it's referring to the man that sees his beautiful lover, and he says, "You know what? We've got to get you some jewelry. We've got to get you some good jewelry. We've got to upgrade you to gold jewelry," and that's an expression of love. But as we know, Shir HaShirim has many layers to it. So what specifically is this referring to in the Jewish people that Hashem is describing as worthy actions or worthy attributes? So the Midrash and the Targum, I think it's mainly the Midrash actually, that says a very interesting Midrash pshat, not the pshat obviously. It says, "Navu lechayayich batorim." It's referring to the two Torahs. Torim, like as if it's Torot. Two Torah, and we have Torah and Torah. So it's Torim. Lechayayich specifically, the Midrash says, it's talking about speech, which Moshe and Aaron used their power of speech to give the Torah. So it's referring to Moshe and Aaron speaking to give the Torah. But overall, it's referring to the Torah that we received from Hashem. And the Biur Gra, always coming up and revealing to us beautiful remazim and nice ideas in the explanation of the pasuk, says as follows. We have two pieces of jewelry. We have a head piece of jewelry, which Gra explains was a triangle piece of jewelry. I'm not sure exactly how it looked, but it's some kind of triangle piece of jewelry that goes on the head. And he says Tor in Aramaic means a 90-degree, a triangle, not 90 degree, just a triangle shape. And he says as follows. The two Torahs, we received two Torahs from Hashem. There is the written Torah and the oral Torah, Torah Shebal Tav, Torah Shebal Peh. Both of them are three layered. We have Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim is the written Torah, and we have Mishnah, Braita, and Gemara, and those three make up the oral Torah. So now this is a very fascinating idea. There's two parts to doing mitzvot. There's the Torah aspect. That's we need to learn Torah. That's a big part of being a Jew. And there's an aspect of the Jew doing mitzvot, acting in the ways of the Lord. So he says as follows. There's two parts that are discussed here in the woman. The woman's where she has the jewelry. In the head jewelry and neck jewelry. So he says as follows. The head is referring to the Torah, because the Torah is used to learn with the mind. The neck is the beginning of the body, and that's referring to the bodily ability to act in Hashem's ways. So he says that the Torah is logical, and it uses the mind, and we're able to connect the whole Torah. The Torah is a cohesive unit of principles and true ways of thinking, that there's no split between each part of the Torah and the other. You can compare them, you can understand one from the other. They're all following one cohesive wisdom of Hashem. Whereas mitzvot are broken up, because mitzvot, first of all, separate actions in separate times. Pesach isn't Shavuot, Shachrit isn't Mincha, and things happen in broken up steps when they're action based. So that's why it says that the jewelry in the head is a one-piece jewelry. The jewelry on the neck is nekudot hakesef. It's dots. Dots of silver is referring to the specific mitzvah, one after the other, but are separated. So it's referring to the two aspects of Torah and mitzvot that were given to the Jews. And in the Shir HaShirim here, they're likened to different types of jewelry. So the Gemara is revealing to us the specific significance of these two types of jewelry. They're not just random items. It's a head item that is made out of one piece, and it's a neck item which is made out of many small pieces, referring to Torah and mitzvot. Then the pasuk continues and says, while the king was when it was dining in his palace, my smell gave a smell, right? Meaning there was a good smell, according to this pshat. Then it says tzror hamor, the bundle of myrrh of this another fragrance was between my breasts, and then he will rest between my breasts. And then he says the cluster of kofer from the vineyards of En-Gedi, another type of incense. So it was three versions of incense and three stages of the king or her lover connecting to her with these incense. So the Gaon of Vilna says a very interesting thing. He says there's three realities. There's heaven, there's the atmosphere between heaven and earth, the avir, the air, and then there's earth, which is basically, you could also compare it to the root of the tree, the trunk of the tree, and the branches and the fruits of the tree. And obviously we know that the tree of life coming down from heaven is a opposite tree. The roots are in heaven, then they come down. So he says as follows: the first level of revelation that Hashem revealed himself to us was at Har Sinai. What happened at Har Sinai? We actually just saw this in the Alshech as well. Hashem brought down the heaven to earth. Yeah. It says he lowered the heavens onto the mountain. So he remained.
Saying that the tree of knowledge and good and evil was the opposite way around from the earth up.
No, it's not the tree of heaven of knowledge and evil. The tree of life, like
saying the tree of life is from down up down. Are you saying that the other tree was from down up?
So I think that was like maybe a manifestation of that, but it was obviously.
That would explain how both trees could be at the center of the garden.
Interesting, could be. I never thought of that. It's a bit like the Star of David.
Exactly.
Right? There's like two. In Kabbalah you have the segel and the segolta. Segel is the bottom one, it's facing down, and the segolta, which is one of the
But where did you get the source that the tree of life was from up down?
I've seen it in a few places. I don't remember specifically now where, but I think it's kind of logical to think that it grows from the source, and it comes like if the source is heaven, then the roots are there. But if you want, I can try and find sources. I just don't remember offhand. So this is what the Gra is explaining as well. So again, we remember that Hashem used to be in earth, and then obviously we know the 7 sins across history pushed Hashem back up, and then we brought him back down. So at Har Sinai we brought him down, but he was still in heaven. He never left heaven. He just brought heaven back down here. So that was the first level, and that's why the fragrance referred to at this point is nard. Sorry. The Gaon says nard is actually a root. It's a fragrant root. So it's referring to the root of Hashem remaining in heaven in the place of the root and revealing himself that way. He also says that nard, Nun Reish Dala, is Gematria 254, which is the 248 mitzvot plus 6. And he says the 6 is the 5 books of Moses plus the story of Maaseh Bereshit, which is a separate whole deep Torah. So basically he's referring to Har Sinai. So that's the first step, the root, and it's in heaven. And that's what it means while the king was still dining in his palace, and he didn't actually come out of the palace. The next step is the bundle of myrrh in the Mishkan. specifically between the two sticks of the Aron, which came out, stack out of the Paroch that we mentioned, which was like the bosom of a woman, and that though wasn't in the land. We hadn't yet reached the Beit HaMikdash. It was specifically the Mishkan was only used, and that's where there was a curtain in the Beit HaMikdash. There was doors, so that specific energy was in the Beit HaMikdash. So it's referring to the trunk, because it was kind of the transition process. While we're still mid-air, we haven't yet entered the land. Right. Whereas the third step is the Beit HaMikdash in the land, which is referring to the fruit and the branches, which is the cluster of kofer, which is like a cluster of grapes, which is like the fruit and the branches the fruit are hanging off, and that is already the land, because it's in this inverted tree. The last step is the land, and that's when we entered Eretz Israel on a fixed level, and that was when Hashem revealed Himself for real on earth all the way, and that's why it's referred to the vineyards of En Gedi, because we know En Gedi is actually very close to the Jordan, and that was one of the first places they conquered. So it's referring to that initial revelation that happened already as we enter the land. So that's the Gra on this Pesukim. There's also a very beautiful Torah of Rabbi Nachman, very deep Torah. It mentions actually in two Torahs, in Torah 66 and Torah 31, I believe it is, where he describes a very deep idea, and he connects it to the pasuk we have here. The pasuk by us says, Torah zav naselach, we will create for you jewelry of gold, im nekudot hakesef, dots of silver. Now, dots of silver, kesef in Hebrew, can also mean kisufin, which means yearning. So he says, and this is actually, I believe, based on a Zohar, that the kudat hakesef is referring to the yearning. Now, what is the dots referring to? So we know what's nakuda. Nakuda are the vowels in the Hebrew letters. So what are the significance of the vowels in the Hebrew letters? And how is that connected to yearning? So he says a very, very powerful thing. He says, I'm going to read it out in Hebrew. He says, we have letters. Letters are dead things. Letters don't have any life in them, because you can't even pronounce a letter without adding some kind of vowel. You can't say, you've already said shava. Like the vowel gives life and movement to the letters. And as we know, the Sefer Yetzirah talks about the fact that the 22 letters of the Torah make 231 gates of transfer and exchange, and that's how the world was created. So now to move around these letters, to even connect at Aleph and Bet, there's got to be a letter to animate it, not the letter, the nakuda, the vowel, and that is what gives the potential state of reality. It's movement.
It's a connector.
Right.
Between the letters. The vowel.
But it's an interesting one, because it in a way, it kind of separates. Rabbi Nachman talks about this very deep idea of, we mentioned actually before in the Alshech as well, that everything that has to come into reality has to start off with a thought, and the thought includes the beginning and the end, because in the thought it's already happened. Now we have to go and separate the potential from the reality and make it happen. Take it out of the state of potential and bring it out into reality. And the way that happens is through speech. Right? We have thought, speech, and action. So speech is a very powerful thing, because like we're saying now, speech is the ability to break apart, is to open up. So in a way it separates, but it connects, because it creates movement. It creates the things departing their state of potential, and now they're going out. So once they go out, they separate. So it's kind of a stage of brokenness. Right, when we're in a place where we've got this dream and it's all perfect, and then we have to get out of the dream and do something, that is a sad place to be, because you want to be happy, you want to be where everything's happy and blissful. So that's the process of going into the place where I don't have it yet. And that place of not having something creates a very strong cheshek and yearning to get there. And that's why he says a very powerful thing, that it's impossible to do anything in the world without cheshek, without this passion coming from the fact that I don't have it. So he says very powerful words. In order to animate the letters, through excitement, passion, and yearning. We want to do the mitzvah, or any holy thing that a Jew wants to do. The vowels of yearning. Through the yearning and the passion, that creates vowels. And the vowels create movement and create things to come forward, to manifest. It's not possible to do anything without cheshek. The mashal, if someone wants to speak, to even open your mouth, you need to have a reason to do it. Right? It's like depression. When a person's in depression, they have no cheshek, so don't do anything. Like the first step of living is to have cheshek, and then we can speak out the cheshek. And that's very important, he says as well, is to speak it out. But then he teaches us a very interesting thing, that's why there's always maniot. This is a very famous Breslov line called maniot, which is the idea that there's always things holding us back, always things getting in the way. And the purpose of these things that are the stumbling blocks and the things that get in the way are to enable more cheshek. Because if things go well, you just need a small amount of cheshek to fire you through that. But if Hashem wants to really create more, so he creates a steeper hill that we need to create more, we need to dig deeper inside of us. Right. But that's knowing this truth takes away the demoralization. Because we don't see it. Some people, whenever something goes wrong, are like, oh, it must be God doesn't want me to do it. That's obviously not true. Because usually things that God doesn't want us to do come easy. Like sin is always easy. Good things are hard. Why? Because good things Hashem wants you. Oh, you're doing it anyway? Might as well really want it. Like everything we start off the first week, we're great at the diet, and then fall again. Why am I falling? Because Hashem in reality wants you to really want it. Like, because if you don't really want it, eventually it's gonna burn out. So we're gonna really dig deeper and deeper every time to really bring it out properly. And the power to do this is through speech, because speech takes it out of machshava and speaks it into dibur. So when a person really brings out and verbalizes the passion and desires they have, and this is actually a process to do, because sometimes we don't even know what we're passionate about, we don't even know what we want. So we have this dead overall desire to do something, to have some kind of achievement, goal, whatever, but we haven't yet verbalized it. We even have to at least verbalize it in our mind, using letters, using animation of the vowels, and that brings out and stretches out the desire into something attainable, something that is perceivable, and then we break it down into the steps, and then we have to go out of the thing, and that's what verbalizing and desiring does, is to create the space to walk now along to the goal. It creates the goal, and then we have to create the steps to get to the goal, and these steps aren't the most exciting. They're usually very annoying, especially when the dream is so beautiful. But the animation we have to keep getting is the life force in the letters, because we're dealing with letters, we're dealing with dead things, and we have to animate it with the passion. And he says a very powerful thing. This is also like a strong line he says here. Ve'ikar hitavut hanefesh. This isn't only with things we want to do in our lives. It says actually, Rav Nachman, this is a very deep idea brought in the Zohar, that a person is born with a nefesh de nefesh, which means that there's a 25-step process, and really it goes into, you can break it down into even more, to actually attain personal completion. Which is, because there's nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida, the 5 steps of the soul, but we're only born with the nefesh of the nefesh, which is like the 5th of the 5th. And then we have to basically create the next part of ourselves. And we create ourselves through yearning and desire, and that is actually what not only manifests our ability to act in the world, it manifests who we are in the world, and then we're able to act. We can't that's why it's very difficult sometimes to dream big, because we don't feel that we're able to do that. But the more we desire things that are further away from us, we're actually creating that person. Like the nefesh itself, we always have to be thinking big. And in a way, it's very humbling to think big, because we don't, and it's confusing, and it could be scary. But these things are very important in order to actually have a path, have a goal. Like it's very psychological as well, and it's also very spiritual. And he said the words Rav Nachman uses is ikar hitavut nefesh. the creation of the soul of the next level is through yearning and longing. He just wants, a person knows, I want to reach closest to Hashem, which is unattainable. I can't even imagine what it means to even have a ruach of nefesh.
This is 66?
This is 66, I believe. I can't even imagine what it was. Like, we don't even know, like when we look at another person that's really holy, right? Another Jew, the way he prays, the way he learns, and you're like, I can't relate to that level of connection to Hashem. But we see it and we're like, whoa, if only I was. Hashem, I really want to connect to Shabbat like this guy. I really want to, eat like a mensch like this guy. And suddenly we create those desires, which means being aware of what we are and wanting more and more and more, even things that, like for example, Rabbi Natan wrote the Kutei Tfilot, which are based on Rabbi Nachman's writings, and they're very big, lofty levels. But he wrote them down into a prayer and said, let me pray for them. I can want them, even though I'm not holding there. And that creates the journey. And this is what it means. Kol echad, every person, wherever he's holding, he mitgagea. He yearns and pines. Lagia el madriga lamala mimena. He envisions what his level should be. What's his next step? What's a more closer refined himself? And through wanting that, nichsefa v'gam kalta nafshi. Says Rav Nachman in the Tehillim, through wanting and pining and going crazy for Hashem, nafshi, I actually create my soul. So this is basically the idea that he talks about here, and he goes into lots of Kabbalistic things, but the general idea I think is a very powerful idea of really realizing that, he explains this in a different angle, but I think this brings it all together, that Hashem creates the world in a neutral state. The letters that Hashem created, all that comes from Hashem is the letters. Now we're given the choice what we're animating the letters with.
That's very nice. Yeah.
Good or bad.
That's
and whatever we're manifesting, whatever we're yearning, is how the letters will become animated. So literally, we are creating our own reality. This is all the self-help books, all these crazy spiritual things, because it's actually like that. That Hashem doesn't force anything upon us. He gives us dead material to work with, and we have to enliven it in the direction we want to take it, and that's how we create our future, with Hashem's letters and our dots of yearning and vowels of yearning. So
it's interesting because it's what we're teaching now with your book, and we're at the section where he says that emotions is very dangerous, because if you don't control your emotions, you'll let it become king, and then you don't get anywhere. So, although emotions is the vowels, is the passion, it has to be guided.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just wasted.
Right, that's what you're saying. It's like, it starts off in the mind, and the mind perceives the desire, perceives the future, the next level, and then to bring that out, we need to activate emotion. So actually, the mind is using emotion to bring out what it needs to bring out. So this is like the Adam.
It's using speech to activate the emotion.
Right, because speech is connected. Kabbalistically, we have the mind and the emotions and the actions, which are connected to thought, speech, and action. So speech is connected to emotion. Ruach is speech. Ruach peh, the power to speak, and ruach is also emotions. And nefesh, ruach, neshama. Nefesh is actions, ruach is emotions, and neshama is the mind. So these are all this 3-step process is the completed way to bring forward actions that are fixed, that are connected to the source. Rabbi Nachman also says it's connected to the letter Aleph. He says that the Aleph is made up of 2 yuds, right? There's yud on top, yud on the bottom, and really they're one letter that need to be separated with the vav. The vav are the 6 emotions, chesed, gvur, tiferet, netzach, hod, yisod, which is what basically separates between the 2 yuds and completes it.
Thought and the action.
Right. So there's thought, emotion, and action.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's like thought, speech, and action. And like that vav is what opens up. It says in Zohar, Poteach et yadecha. It means Poteach et yudecha. Open up the 2 yuds and bring them, manifest them. So when we say Poteach et yadecha, on a simple level, we're referring to Hashem manifesting shefa and what we need in the world. There's also this process of bringing out what's in heaven. So on a personal level, we also have that. On a Avodas Hashem level, we always have things that we have potential, and we need to go out of the state of potential by speaking. And Avodas Hashem, we should be zocher to manifest through speech, through emotion, through desire, and just keep desiring. Thank you, Hashem.
Thank you.